5 deaths, 3 generations, 1 family. December 6th, 1928, Oak Park, Illinois. Clarence Hemingway, a respected doctor, married 30 years, father of 6, walks into his bedroom, takes out his Civil War revolver, and shoots himself in the head. October 15th, 1982, Miami, Florida. Leicester Hemingway, younger brother of the famous writer, sits in his wheelchair, legs amputated, picks up a gun, and ends it. September 1966, Santa Monica, California. Ursula Hemingway dies from an overdose of barbiturates. Suicide. July 1st, 1996, Santa Monica. Margaux Hemingway, supermodel, granddaughter of America's greatest writer, found dead in her apartment. Overdose. Suicide. And the one everyone remembers. July 2nd, 1961. Ernest Hemingway, Nobel Prize winner, literary giant. Shotgun to the mouth. Dead at 61. 5 people. Same family. Same method. Same outcome. For decades, people blamed the tortured artist gene. Depression. Mental illness. Family trauma. The curse of genius. They were wrong. In the early 2000s, genetic researchers studying the Hemingway family found something in their DNA, a mutation. A defect that doesn't cause sadness. It physically destroys the body, attacks the organs, poisons the brain, turns personality into madness. And it's inherited, passed from parent to child like eye color or height. The Hemingway family wasn't cursed by creativity, they were cursed by their genes. And every single one of them who inherited this mutation faced the same inevitable end. This is the story of the genetic disease that killed the Hemingways. And it starts 70 years before anyone understood what was happening. December 6th, 1928. Oak Park, Illinois. Clarence Hemingway wakes up at dawn. He's 57 years old, a physician, well-respected, stable income, 6 children, including Ernest, who's already becoming famous in Paris as a writer. But for the past year, something has been wrong with Clarence. He's changed. His personality has shifted. He used to be calm, methodical, professional. Now he's irritable, anxious, paranoid. He believes people are plotting against him. He thinks his money is disappearing. It's not, but he's convinced. He can't sleep more than a few hours. His hands shake. He has chronic pain in his joints, his abdomen. His skin has taken on a strange grayish tint. His wife Grace attributes it to stress, overwork, aging. She doesn't understand. She can't see what's happening inside his body. Inside Clarence's organs, something is accumulating, building up, concentrating in his liver, his heart, his pancreas, and most devastatingly, in his brain. It's destroying tissue, killing neurons, altering brain chemistry. The rational doctor is disappearing, replaced by someone Grace doesn't recognize. On the morning of December 6th, Clarence tells Grace he's going to rest. He goes to his bedroom, closes the door, sits on the edge of his bed, takes out the old Civil War revolver he's kept for years. A family heirloom. He loads a single bullet, puts the barrel to his right temple, and pulls the trigger. The gunshot echoes through the house. Grace finds him minutes later. Blood. Brain matter. The calm physician reduced to a corpse. No note. No explanation. Just a body. And a question no one could answer. Why? His son Ernest, 29 years old and living in Paris, receives a telegram. He's devastated. Angry. He writes to friends, calling his father a coward, saying suicide is weakness. He has no idea that the same thing building up in his father's body is building up in his. The same mutation. The same slow destruction. The clock is already ticking. Ernest Hemingway's life is well documented. Born 1899, Oak Park, Illinois. Worked as an ambulance driver in World War I. Wounded in Italy. Moved to Paris in the 1920s. Became part of the Lost Generation. Fitzgerald, Pound, Stein. Published The Sun Also Rises in 1926. A Farewell to Arms in 1929. For Whom the Bell Tolls in 1940. Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. By the 1930s, he was the most famous American writer alive. But underneath the fame, Ernest was sick. He drank heavily, everyone knew that. Whiskey, wine, rum, whatever was available. He told people it helped him write, helped him cope with memories of war, with creative pressure, with life. But alcohol was masking something worse. Ernest had chronic health problems his entire adult life. Liver issues, documented by multiple doctors. He developed diabetes in his 40s. His joints ached constantly. By his 50s, he could barely walk without pain. His skin had a bronze discoloration. Doctors couldn't explain it. And then there were the mental symptoms. By the 1950s, Ernest was paranoid. He believed the FBI was following him. And here's the twist. They actually were. Hemingway had spent time in Cuba, had left-wing political connections, and J. Edgar Hoover's FBI was monitoring him. But Ernest's paranoia went beyond reality. He thought his phones were tapped, his mail intercepted. Everyone was plotting against him. He couldn't write anymore. The man who had produced some of the greatest prose in American literature sat at his typewriter and couldn't form sentences. His memory was failing. His concentration was gone. His personality was disintegrating. In 1960, his wife Mary and his doctors became seriously concerned. Ernest was talking about suicide constantly, making plans. In November 1960, he was admitted to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota under a fake name. Diagnosis: severe depression with suicidal ideation. Treatment: electroconvulsive therapy. Shock treatment. They strapped him to a table and ran electricity through his brain. 15 sessions. It didn't help. It made everything worse. The shocks destroyed what was left of his memory. He couldn't remember his own life, his own stories. By early 1961, Ernest Hemingway was a broken shell, and he knew it. October 15th, 1982, Miami, Florida. Leicester Hemingway is 73 years old. He's lived a quieter life than his famous brother, wrote some books, had a family, stayed out of the spotlight. But the last few years have been hell. He developed diabetes in his 60s, severe, uncontrolled. His circulation deteriorated. In September 1982, doctors amputate both his legs below the knee. Complications from diabetes and vascular disease. Leicester is in a wheelchair. In constant pain, unable to walk, unable to live independently. And like his father Clarence, like his brother Ernest, Leicester is descending into depression. Not sadness, something darker, something physical. His thinking is confused. His personality has changed. He's irritable, paranoid, hopeless. On October 15th, Leicester Hemingway shoots himself. Dead. His family grieves. Another tragedy in a tragic family. No one connects it to Clarence's suicide 54 years earlier. No one connects it to Ernest's suicide 21 years earlier. It's just bad luck. Depression. The Hemingway curse. Except it's not luck. It's not psychology. It's biology. The same mutation that killed Clarence and Ernest just killed Leicester. And it's not done. September 1966, Santa Monica, California. Ursula Hemingway is 64 years old, Ernest's younger sister. She struggled with depression for years, been hospitalized, tried medications, therapy. Nothing works. The depression isn't psychological, it's physical, structural. Her brain is deteriorating. She can't eat, can't sleep, can't function. On a September evening in 1966, Ursula takes a lethal dose of barbiturates, pills. She goes to sleep and doesn't wake up. Official cause of death, natural causes. But the family knows. Suicide. Another Hemingway dead by their own hand. Another victim of something no one has diagnosed yet. The pattern is becoming undeniable. But still, no one connects the dots. July 1st, 1996, Santa Monica, California. Margaux Hemingway is 42 years old, Ernest's granddaughter. In the 1970s, she was one of the world's first supermodels. Beautiful, famous, million-dollar contracts, her face on magazine covers worldwide. But by the 1990s, her life has collapsed. Her modeling career is over. She's struggled with alcoholism for years, bulimia, depression. She's been in and out of rehab, tried everything, and underneath it all, something is destroying her from the inside. The same thing that killed her great-grandfather Clarence, that killed her grandfather Ernest, that killed her great-uncle Leicester and great-aunt Ursula. On the evening of July 1st, 1996, Margaux takes a massive overdose of phenobarbital, a barbiturate sedative. She goes to sleep in her Santa Monica apartment and never wakes up. Her body is found the next day, July 2nd, exactly 35 years after Ernest Hemingway's death. Some say it's coincidence, but the date feels deliberate. Like she knew. Like she felt the pull of the family curse and chose the anniversary. 5 deaths, 70 years, one family. And finally, someone asks the right question. What if this isn't psychology? What if this is biology? In the early 2000s, researchers studying suicide clusters and family patterns started looking at the Hemingways. 5 suicides across 3 generations, all with similar symptoms before death. Depression, paranoia, personality changes, physical deterioration. They reviewed medical records, interviewed surviving family members, and they found something. A genetic mutation. HFE gene. C282Y variant. Hemochromatosis. It's a genetic disorder that breaks your body's ability to regulate iron absorption. Normally, you absorb iron from food, the amount you need, and excrete the rest. But if you have hemochromatosis, that regulation fails. Your intestines absorb way too much iron, and your body has no good mechanism to get rid of excess iron. So it accumulates, year after year, decade after decade. Iron deposits in your liver, causes cirrhosis. In your heart, causes cardiomyopathy, heart failure. In your pancreas, destroys insulin-producing cells, causes diabetes. And in your brain, this is the killer. Iron in brain tissue generates oxidative stress, free radicals. It damages neurons, destroys myelin, kills brain cells. The iron deposits act like rust inside a machine, slowly corroding everything. And the symptoms? Fatigue, joint pain, abdominal pain, bronze or gray skin discoloration. But the worst damage is neurological. The iron accumulates in specific brain regions: the frontal cortex, the basal ganglia, the hippocampus. These control decision-making, impulse control, emotion regulation, memory. As they degrade, personality changes. Depression that doesn't respond to any treatment, anxiety, paranoia, loss of impulse control, and eventually, overwhelming suicidal thoughts that the damaged brain can't resist anymore. Hemochromatosis is called the Celtic curse because it's most common in people of Northern European descent, Irish, Scottish, English, Welsh ancestry. The Hemingway family, English and Irish roots, perfect genetic background. About 1 in 200 people of European ancestry carry 2 copies of the mutation. Most never get diagnosed. The symptoms are vague. I'm tired. Everyone's tired. My joints hurt. That's aging. I feel depressed. See a therapist. They die from liver failure, heart attacks, or like the Hemingways, they kill themselves. And no one ever connects it to a treatable genetic disease. Clarence Hemingway had it. The chronic pain, the personality changes, the paranoia, the gray skin. Classic hemochromatosis. Ernest Hemingway had it. The liver problems, the diabetes, the bronze skin, the joint pain, the deteriorating brain. Textbook case. Leicester had it. The diabetes, the vascular problems, the amputations, the final depression. All symptoms. Ursula had it. Margaux had it. The genetic mutation passed from generation to generation, killing everyone who inherited it. And here's the cruelest part of this story. Hemochromatosis is completely treatable. If you catch it early, before the iron overload destroys your organs, the treatment is absurdly simple. Phlebotomy, therapeutic bloodletting. You regularly remove blood from the patient. The body uses stored iron to make new red blood cells. Over time, total body iron drops to normal levels. It prevents liver damage, heart damage, brain damage. It saves lives. The treatment has existed for centuries. Literally, since medieval times, doctors used bloodletting for various conditions. But you have to know to test for it. You have to check serum iron levels, ferritin levels, transferrin saturation, and in the Hemingway family, no one ever did. Clarence Hemingway was a doctor. He had access to medical testing, but hemochromatosis wasn't widely understood in 1928. He died never knowing he had a treatable disease. Ernest Hemingway saw dozens of doctors throughout his life, had his liver checked, had psychiatric evaluations, was hospitalized multiple times. Not one doctor tested his iron levels. Not one suspected hemochromatosis. The electroconvulsive therapy they gave him in 1960, the shock treatment that destroyed his memory, was useless. Worse than useless. It damaged the brain further while ignoring the real problem: iron poisoning. If someone had done a simple blood test and found elevated iron, Ernest Hemingway could have been treated. Weekly or monthly blood draws, reducing iron levels, slowing or stopping the brain degeneration. He might have kept writing into his 70s, 80s. But no one knew. Leicester, Ursula, Margaux, none of them were ever diagnosed. They all died thinking they just had depression, bad genes for mental illness. They didn't know they had a physical disease, a treatable disease. They didn't know that the medieval practice of bloodletting could have saved them. And by the time researchers identified the pattern in the Hemingway family, early 2000s, everyone who had the mutation was already dead. 5 lives lost. 5 suicides. All preventable. Let's go back to Ernest one more time. Spring 1961. He's been released from Mayo Clinic after his second round of electroconvulsive therapy. His memory is shattered. He can't remember names, dates, events from his own life. He tries to read his own books and doesn't recognize them. He sits at his typewriter and stares at blank pages. The words won't come. His wife, Mary, watches him deteriorate. His doctors know he's suicidal, but they can't keep him locked up forever. So they bring him home to Ketchum, Idaho, a small town, quiet. They keep the guns locked in the basement. They watch him, but they can't watch him every second. In April 1961, on a plane ride, Ernest tries to walk into a spinning propeller. His doctor physically restrains him. In May, he tries to get to a shotgun. Mary stops him. By June, Everyone knows it's just a matter of time. His brain is too damaged. The iron has destroyed too much tissue. The frontal cortex, the part that stops you from acting on dark impulses, is barely functioning. The decision is already made. His body is just waiting for the moment. July 2nd, 1961. Sunday morning, 7:30 a.m., Ketchum, Idaho. Mary Hemingway is still asleep upstairs. Ernest wakes early. He's been awake for hours, actually. Thinking. Planning. He knows where Mary keeps the key to the gun cabinet. He's watched her put it away. He gets up quietly, red bathrobe, slippers, walks downstairs. The house is silent. Early morning light through the windows. He goes to the basement, opens the cabinet with the key. Inside, his shotgun collection. He chooses his favorite. A double-barreled Boss shotgun, custom-made in England. Beautiful gun. He's cleaned it 1,000 times, loaded it 1,000 times on hunting trips. He loads it now. 2 shells. Walks back upstairs. Into the foyer by the front entrance. He doesn't hesitate. Doesn't leave a note. Doesn't say goodbye. The iron in his brain has destroyed the part of him that could stop this. He puts both barrels in his mouth. His thumb finds the triggers. And he pulls. The blast echoes through the house. Mary wakes to the sound, runs downstairs, finds him. Blood everywhere. Brain matter on the walls. The greatest American writer of the 20th century dead on his foyer floor, killed by a disease he never knew he had, a disease that could have been treated with medieval bloodletting, a mutation in a single gene. Hemochromatosis. The Hemingway curse. Not fate, not genius burning too bright, just biology. Iron destroying a brain piece by piece, until there was nothing left but the impulse to end it. That's how Ernest Hemingway died. That's how they all died. 5 people, 3 generations, 1 genetic mutation. And every single death was preventable.